function will look like this: a times sine of b times x minus c, or plus c, could be plus c, and then plus d. This stands for the amplitude. This stands for the frequency. This is the horizontal shift, and this is the vertical shift. Okay, let's just take, let's make one up. Okay, let's say if we have 5 sine, let's put negative 5. Negative 5 sine of, let's say, 4 times x minus, let's say, pi, and then plus 2. So my amplitude is positive 5. The negative sign does not change my amplitude. Okay, negative sign just makes my curve flip. Okay, just like if you have y is equal to x squared, that's a parabola that opens up, and then when you have y is equal to negative x squared, that's a parabola that opens down. Same thing with sine and cosine and tangent. All the trig functions, it just flips them. Okay, so now this is the 4 is the frequency. Okay. Frequency is, okay, frequency is 4. But frequency doesn't tell me anything except tells me that it's going to be, you're going to have 4 of the sine curves within 0 to 2 pi. It means 0 to 2 pi, you're going to see 4 of these like that. Okay, you're going to see 4 of those. Okay, so I do need to know what the period is. To find out what the period is, because that's what we need to graph, we're going to take 2 pi, and then we're going to divide by 4, which is 2 pi over 4, which is pi over 2. And that's my period. You always divide by, okay, 2 pi by whatever the frequency is. But if it's in degrees, we're going to take 360 degrees and divide by that number, frequency. Okay, then this is my horizontal shift. That means it's going to shift pi units to the right. You always go opposite of that sign. Okay, if that was a plus, you're going to go pi units to the left. And this is positive 2, that means we're going to go 2 units up. Okay, so let's graph one of these. Okay, let's make one up. Let's say y is equal to, well, let's graph what we had. Okay, y is equal to negative 5 sine of 4 times x minus pi plus 2. Alright, first things first. We're going to draw our x and y axis. Okay, x and y. Okay, my amplitude is 5, so I'm going to go up here. Can't do that yet. Okay, let's identify everything first. Okay, my amplitude is 5. Amplitude is there. My frequency is 4, and my horizontal shift is that, pi to the right, and that's my vertical shift. Right. Now, because my vertical shift is 2, I am going to actually go up here, call that 2, and draw a new horizontal axis, but I'm going to do it in a dotted line because this causes to shift the whole curve up by 2 units. Originally this 0 was my middle, but now my middle is going to be at 2. Okay, I'm going to take care of the horizontal shift last. Okay, you'll see why in a second. Now from here I'm going to use my amplitude. Amplitude is 5, so it means I got to go 5 units up. So I'm going to go 5 units up. I'm starting at 2. 5 units up is going to make that into a 7. And I'm going to go 5 units down. Okay, if I go 5 units down, that's going to put me at negative 3. That's my high-low. Okay, I've taken care of my amplitude. I've taken care of my vertical shift. Now, how do I use my frequency? I'm going to use frequency to find my period. To find my period, I'm going to take 2 pi divided by 4, which is pi over 2. So this is my 0. I'm going to come over here and call that pi over 2. I'm going to start cutting everything in half. That's going to be pi over 4. And half of everything that's pi over 8. And to get this number in the middle, I just add these two. So pi 8s and pi 4s, which is going to give me 3 pi over 8. Because you got to find the common denominator and everything. Alright. Now, I've now been taking care of the 4, the amplitude, the frequency, and the vertical shift. I haven't done anything with the horizontal shift yet. I'm not going to do anything with that because I can graph it. It's easier for me to graph it this way and then take care of the horizontal shift at the end. Okay, this is my sine curve. It starts here in the middle because that's my new middle because I shifted everything. But this is negative, so instead of, normally my sine curve goes up, but because it's negative it goes down. Okay, it hits the low value there, and then at the next step it's going to go back to the middle. Okay, and then at 3 pi 8ths, and my next step is going to go up to the high point, and then my final step is going to go back to where it started, right there. So this is my sine curve. Okay, like I said before, I have not done anything with the horizontal shift. I won't take care of that now. I have to move everything, okay, pi units to the right. Okay, pi, oops, it's not pi, that's h. So pi to the right. So I can either move every single one of my points pi units to the right, okay, which is hard to do. Okay, or I can move my axis pi units to the left. So that means I have to subtract. Okay, I have to move everything. That means I have to add. Sorry, not subtract. I have to add pi to everything. So I'm going to add pi to the 0. I'm going to add pi to pi over 8. I'm going to add pi to pi over 4. I'm going to add pi to 3 pi over 4. I'm going to add pi to pi over 2. Okay, 3 pi over 8 plus pi, and pi over 2 plus pi. Okay, so this is no longer 0. This is pi. So if this is pi, it's no longer 0. I have to find out where the 0 is located. 0 has to be to the left of that. So I'm going to go over here somewhere. I'm going to draw my new axis. Okay, I'm going to transfer all my information. That's my 2. Okay, and that's my 7. And that's my -3. And we'll call that 0. And that's my y-axis. So the old y-axis I had, I'm going to erase that because that would be too confusing to have 2 y-axes. Okay. I'll erase that, and there it is. And I've shifted everything to pi units to the right. Instead of starting at 0, it starts at pi. Okay, to the right. Okay, let's do a cosine. Okay, let's make one up. Let's go y is equal to, okay, let's go 3 this time. Let's go 3 cosine, and let's frequency, let's make one up, and let's say we'll call that pi. And then the shift, I'll go x. Instead of using a pi or whatever, let's use a number. Let's say this time let's go plus, okay, 2. And then let's go minus this time, and let's go 3. Okay, that's my amplitude. Amplitude is 3. Okay, that's my frequency. Frequency is 4. Excuse me, no, 4 is pi. So frequency is pi. So I got to find my period. To do that, I'm going to take 2 pi, divide my frequency. They cancel, so it turns out to be 2. So frequency is 2. And this is 2 units to the left, 2 to the left. And this tells me I'm going 3 units down. Okay, So let's plot our points. So I'm going to have my x-axis. Okay, since I'm going to shift 2 units to the left, I'm going to do a temporary y-axis. And then since I'm going 3 units down, I'm going to go down here, call that -3. I'm going to have a new horizontal axis here. Okay, so this is my temporary y-axis. Okay, this is my middle right here. Now, let's plot the amplitude. So I'm going to go 3 units up and 3 units down. If I'm at -3, I'm going to go 3 units up. It's going to put me right at 0. Okay, so that's going to be at 0. That's 0. And then 3 units down, that's going to put me at -6. Right? Period is 2. So if that's 0, I'm going to go over here, call that 2. Start cutting everything in half. That's going to be 1. It's going to be 1/2. And that's going to be 3/2. That's my period. Okay. I've taken care of the amplitude because it's the middle, 3 units up, 3 units down. And I've taken care of the period, and I've taken care of moving the curve 3 units. The only thing I have left is that right there, 2 units to the left. I'm going to do that after I graph. Okay, you don't have to, but that's what I'm going to do. Okay, let's start with the cosine. Cosine starts here on the top. Okay, and then crosses the middle at the next step. Hits the bottom at the next step at 1. And then next step is going to come back to the middle. And then finally it's going to go back to where it started from right there. So my cosine curve will look something like this. Okay, only thing I haven't taken care of is my 2 units to the left. If I go 2 units to the left, I'm going to subtract, that's my 0, I'm going to subtract 2 from everything. So that'll be -2, -2, -2, -2, -2. Right. Now, what's 2 minus 2? That's 0. So that's my new 0. Okay. Let me write that down. That's my new 0. What's 3/2 minus 2? That's -1/2. So let's erase 3/2 minus 2. Call that -1/2. Okay. -1/2. -1/2. What's 1 minus 2? Well, that's going to be -1. So let's go ahead and erase that and call that one -1. And what's 1/2 minus 2, which is -3/2. So let's call that -3/2. And obviously 0 minus 2 is -2. So this is going to be -2. Well, my y-axis can't be at -2. My y-axis has to be at 0, so I'm going to move my y-axis where it belongs, which is at 0. I'm going to transfer all my information. That's my y-axis. That's my 0. I'm going to call that -3. I'm going to call that -6. And so just because you don't want any confusion, I'm going to erase my old temporary y-axis that I had. Okay. And that is it. Okay. So that's all it does. Let's do a tangent. Okay. Y is equal to, let's make one up. Y is equal to -2 tangent. Let's say we have x over 2 plus 3. Tangent does not have an amplitude. Okay? This is not an amplitude. Not an amplitude. Amplitude means middle to the high and middle to the low. So tangent curve always goes up forever and goes down forever. Now the frequency, okay, frequency is 1/2, so my period is, now I can't use 2 pi in tangent, I gotta take a pi, okay, divide by 1/2, which is going to give me 2 pi. And that is still my vertical shift. Okay, vertical shift is there, which is up 3. So let's go over here, okay, call that the tangent curve. Now, I have a vertical shift of 3, so I'm going to go up here, call that 3. Okay, that's my vertical shift. Alright, it has no horizontal shift. Okay, so since it doesn't have an amplitude, I don't have to, I don't have a maximum, minimum, high value, low value. But my period is 2 pi. My tangent curve does go through the middle, which is my new middle here because of the vertical shift of 3. Okay, so I'm just going to draw my tangent curve. So my tangent curve is going to look like that. Only thing is different is when I draw my asymptotes here and here, okay, the distance from here to here has to be 2 pi. So that means that's got to be pi, that's got to be negative pi. And that's my tangent curve. But we haven't accounted for my negative. So what do I do with my negative? My negative causes my tangent curve to flip, so I'm going to have to flip this curve. So when I flip it, it looks like that. Okay, now I'm done. Okay, I can erase my first one. Okay, and that is complete because of the negative. Okay.